Well, delighted to say that joining us on Gone to the Dogs today is Paddy Power Broadcaster Aoife Corrigan. Aoife, how are you?
Hello, Dani. How are you? Nice to be on the show, and let's hope we've a good show in store for us. And yeah, Paddy Power Broadcaster. We'll see if the skills of talking now that they'll come into play in this podcast.
It didn't for me and Joe, so you're all right. So, talking about greyhound racing in particular, of course, how did you get into the world of dogs?
Well, I suppose, Dani, I've always been in the world of dogs. I actually don't remember a life without greyhounds, if I'm honest with you. Obviously started with my own dad, and I've kind of kept it on now. My dad still has dogs, and I have dogs here at my own house now. So I'm 35 years of age, and if I'm honest, I don't remember a life without greyhounds in it. So from a very young age, I said I don't remember life without greyhounds. So basically, from the start, I'd no choice. I'm in the middle of 6 children. None of my other siblings have any interest in greyhounds. Wouldn't know one from another. I don't know how I got the bug, but I certainly got in a big way.
Where did that come from then with your dad, Aoife, the bug for greyhound racing, if the other 5 have got no interest at all?
I don't really know, Joe, if I'm honest with you. Obviously, my dad is originally from Cavan, and he moved to Dublin to be a bus conductor, and he got friendly with my mother's brothers, and then he fell in love, as they say, and moved back to Wicklow with my mum. And there was a guy up the road that had always greyhounds, and my dad used to drive a bus for him. And I think it kind of just progressed from there, just obviously got into it. I don't think there was any real set rule. A little small village in Wicklow with maybe a couple of 100 people. That's all where I'm from. Very, very small place. Literally one road out, one road in. And I think he just got the bug from that. I don't think there was, like, his parents didn't have dogs or anything, and his own brother doesn't have any interest. So I think it was just a thing that everyone got into. So yeah, just basically he kind of got into it, I think, from nothing really as such.
Same as me, to be fair, because nobody in my family gives 2 hoots about what a greyhound does on a day-to-day basis. So I'm with him. And it just, as soon as it gets in your blood, though, you cannot get it out. There is no day in my life that I don't check greyhound vet or I don't think about what's happening to greyhounds. I'm assuming it's the same for you, Aoife.
Yeah, well, obviously being a broadcaster now in Paddy Power, like, ever since I was young, I was parading dogs, schooling dogs, helping anyone out with the track. I was a great one for if anyone had a lead and needed a bit of a dig out. I was always the one, here, give me that, I'll give you a hand. And having a big mouth and being well able to talk at a very young age really helped as well. So yeah, and obviously the work I do now, and I got my job in Paddy Power through my local track here in Enniscorthy. So for me, it's been a real whirlwind in greyhounds. It's given me so much. It's given me the life I have. And as you said, there's not a day that doesn't go by. I have greyhounds here. I've a dog retired. I've had a couple of retired dogs in the house. So yeah, it's just been, my life is basically greyhound. When I got the job in Paddy Power, I said, what a better job for you, Aoife. You're able to talk and you know your dogs. So I mean, really a match made in heaven, I think it's fair to say.
You've got the job from your little track in Enniscorthy. How did that come about with Paddy Power? Did they just pluck you out of trackside commentaries, or what happened?
Yeah, well, it was a case of, so obviously, as I said, having being well able to talk and having a big mouth had its perks. So I would have been well known for just going around and, as I said, giving a helping hand or whatever. And I had done a veterinary course, and I was kind of just tricking around with dogs. And Lars Sutton used to post a couple of videos of finals and things. So he was there one night and he said to me, look, Aoife, I think you'd be great. Get in front of the camera, do a few interviews. And first I was resistant, as most people are. You're no, I wouldn't be able. So anyway, with a little bit of persistence, he says, look, try. So we actually done it live from Enniscorthy track a couple of nights, which was a big thing. This was about 15 years ago, actually. So we actually went live a couple of nights when there was a final. There was Miles Robin and myself and Lara behind the camera. So we done that live for a few nights. And then I done a bit of work for Red Mills. So they got me on board, me and Lara, to do videos. So we used to travel around the country, which was incredible, I have to say. We used to do kennel visits with the great Matt O'Donnell and loads of other people around the country. So we done a couple of them. Then we just kept it local to Enniscorthy as well. Real nice mix of kennel visits, big finals, and anything Red Mill sponsored. And then I got a call from Kieran Burke and Paddy Power at the time and said, we have a broadcasting job here if you want to take it. And a bit like before, I was resistant. I actually thought it was a prank, if I'm honest. And as they say, the rest is history. I went up for a sound check. Now, I won't say that went well because I had zero experience. But he saw the potential. I think it's fair to say he saw the potential. So I started doing greyhounds. So I was a greyhound broadcaster at first, and then I progressed now to we'll say overall broadcaster. So I do horses, greyhounds, whatever, lotto, whatever is in a bookies, I'll be talking about.
Your local track, Enniscorthy, for how far would that be from you?
Well, I actually moved to Enniscorthy in the time from, so I actually now live in Enniscorthy with Aidan. So I've moved to Enniscorthy about 10 years ago. So literally, if I threw a stone, if my arms were able to throw a stone, I'd nearly be able to throw a stone to the track, Joe. So 2 minutes of drive, literally.
A recent Derby winner come out of a novice stakes at Enniscorthy.
Yeah, look, Enniscorthy is a great track. It really holds its own. Last night there was a final there, Bet Goodwin Ben, I should say, apologies. He was beaten, but he's a dog with 28-17 around Limerick. Enniscorthy holds a real good standard of greyhound. And if dogs can do time there, I'm telling you, they can do time anywhere. So it's a tough little track, a fair little track, but tough, and plenty of good dogs, as you said, have come out of it in the past. And Joe Devlin saw that Derby winner, and there's
Don't say the name. I'm going to quiz Dani. I'm going to quiz Dani on it and see if she gets it. Do you know who I'm on about, Aoife? It was about 4 or 5 years ago. 3, yeah.
Frontline Trap 6.
Yeah. Big old boy. Big old boy.
What Vulcan?
Yeah.
Well done. Well, there's actually been a few, because Henry Kelly, a very good friend of mine, had Astute Missile. Seamus Cahill won that. And that's an Enniscorthy dog as well. That's maybe not a dog that's known because he'd lots of Shelbourne Park form, but Astute Missile, Henry Kelly, I think he won at 40-1.
28 in the final he won.
All right. Yeah, I knew he was one of the bigger SPs, all right. So he would have been most of his form is in Shelbourne Park, but Astute Missile probably is a dog that not many would know that did grace the showgrounds at one stage.
Wow. Yeah, I thought fucking recent.
And you thought you were going to stitch me up with that, Joe, and I managed to get the right answer.
When we said big dog stripes, trained by Patrick Janssen, owned by Keith Allsop, thought she'll get this now.
No, not giving you
Your knowledge is second to none, Danielle. Absolutely. I would have been surprised if you didn't get that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I know enough, obviously, to get by most of the time, but it's mostly.
I could quiz you and ask you what his original name was. Now, if you really wanted it, I know that now off the top of my head. If you really wanted to be quizzed,
I wouldn't have a Scooby.
No idea. What was his original name?
No Ordinary Joe, as far as I know.
That him?
Far as you know, he could be wrong.
I'm nearly sure it's No Ordinary Joe, but anyway.
He probably was. I was going to Google then, but I don't have the skills for that. ChatGPT I need to use. So when it comes to your day-to-day job, obviously in Paddy Power, I've probably got an inkling of what happens day-to-day because it's what I do for William Hill on the whole. But do they have a real focus on greyhounds, or is it just, for William Hill, they have a dedicated channel to greyhounds these days, but when it came to them just being in just one channel, greyhounds is kind of probably second or third tier. So where would greyhounds sit with you guys?
Yeah, well, I suppose I don't know if there's any sport that's really specific or focused on in any bookie. In Paddy Power now in the last year, actually, we've got our own channel, so PPTV 1, 2 and 3. So we have the ability now in the last year as well, which has helped me. I am the only female in a 20-odd dominated man's world, just to inform you as well. So you have to listen to a lot of, I won't say expletives, but you have to listen to a lot of, stuff you don't want to listen to, and, listen to a lot of in one ear and out the other anyway is the best way to say it. So no, in recent times, we have our own channels now. We actually have our own TV studio. So we can do live shows now in Paddy Power, which we haven't had the ability. So we are trying to get like William Hill and other bookmakers to say we specialise in one thing. Not really. There's a couple of guys I work with, me, Justin, Michael Lott. There's a couple of us Rob Carson, you would know Rob as well, that focus on greyhounds. Now, not necessarily Paddy Power telling us to focus on them. It's just we all have an interest, so it's easy when you know what you're talking about. So yeah, there's not really one thing, but obviously anytime I'm in or the lads are in, we're really trying to hone in on greyhounds. But there's not really one thing that we focus on. It's so much sport, so much content now. It's just crazy. I'm in actually Paddy Power 13 years this week. So yeah, it's a long time. And even in those 13 years, as I said, I started just focusing on greyhounds when I started first, and now it's every sport. So it's just crazy every day. It's 12-hour shifts and never get to switch off for a minute. There's so much sport and different racing on every day.
12-hour shifts?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So do you do, I know like SIS, they would do an hour on, an hour off. What do you kind of do to split it up?
So there's two of us in. I do like 7:30 to 7:30, 10 to 10, and then we just kind of work it in the day. And then, as I said, there's a live show in Paddy Power now at 1:00 till 1:30 every day. So we do the show, and then there's kind of live previews, snippets throughout the day as well. So it's a lot different than when I started 13 years ago. Is all I would say. Those were the handy glory days when you were sitting back talked about a couple of greyhound races. So it's helter skelter in there at the minute. It's so busy, but they're really trending in the right direction, I suppose. Everything has gone so live and we're bringing a feel to it and we're getting our customers involved. So it's really exciting place to be at the minute.
Sounds like it. And when it comes to kind of greyhound racing sponsorship, obviously you wouldn't have a hand in that, but do you as a company sponsor a lot of like greyhound races over in Ireland? I don't know that you've got any feelers over here yet.
No, unfortunately we don't. This is you're opening a can of unfortunate worms here.
Come on, we need sponsorship.
Yeah, no, look, Joe, you're talking to the converted, as they say. I have sent emails, tried to arrange meetings. It's just not, I get pushback all the time. And unfortunately, it pains me because people say it to me as well. And I know, if I could change it, I would. Their answer is they're not interested at this time. And that's all and that's being completely honest with you. There's a guy, Declan Kilkenny, he's from Galway. He's a trader. He's a bit like myself, very, very passionate about trying to get greyhound sponsorship from Paddy Power. But unfortunately, it's just knocking on a door that's not opening at the minute. Every year, they're saying they're going to review it. So I don't know. Hopefully we'll get it over the line. But at the moment, as I said, I'm frustrated. And as I said, you're opening a can of worms that I don't want to open either. But it's just, I don't have the powers that'll put it over the line. But I'll keep knocking on the door. And hopefully one of these days it'll open.
How do we go around then? Because they're happy to take without, obviously you've got the statutory levy that pay into through what they make, but they're happy to take out of sport, but not willing to give loads back to it.
No, look, it's one of those things, as I said, I can't control it. Nothing would give me more pleasure than to see Paddy Power sponsoring. Like, as I said, we have now the ability of live, and we actually have a live view thing that we can bring to tracks. And this is all being said, like I have offered, I'll go to the track, I'll do the interviews, and to be fair, the studio has cost X amount. It has cost a lot, and it is a work in progress. And I do think when they see the fruits of the studio, that's only new. I think they will branch out to more things because they are doing small projects out of the office in different tracks and different things. And when they see the fruits of that maybe working, it's only gathering momentum now. I do think they will sponsor because then they can say, we're heading to X, just say Enniscorthy, we have something sponsored there. I think when they realise that the fruits of that will flourish, I think they will get involved with sponsorship. But just at the minute, they're just saying it's paying for the studio. We just want to keep it. They're trying to make it niche what we have. And I suppose before we develop it too big and branch into other things. So I can only tell you what I know, Joe, unfortunately.
No, I get it completely, because when William Hill had a studio years ago, we used it a lot pretty much from day one, to be fair. But I think we always had kind of a live TV presence for a long, long time. We don't anymore post-COVID. It just hasn't come back. So I'm kind of pleased to see that Paddy Power are putting a studio in. And I know Betfred have got one as well. So maybe that'll prompt William Hill, if they see that the market share is slightly dipping because of these things, then maybe they can, up their game with regards to the studio. I don't know that that's going to happen again, to be honest, but I always hope it will, obviously, because that's what I do. But yeah, so With regards to Paddy Power, of course, it is quite well known for the fun side of promotions, and I love their adverts. I think they're fantastic, and they're the kind of fun side of the high street, I would say, because everybody else is a little bit more serious. I suppose in the broadcasting side of things, do you have to play it with a straight back? Can you have a bit of a laugh with people? What did they kind of say to you about broadcasting in the shops?
Yeah, well, when I first started, obviously you're nervous and you're trying to be perfect and prim and proper and whatever, saying all the right things. But as I said, with this new studio, there's a kind of a flair now in the studio, because we're actually getting customers to email us in. So every day when we do a live show, we put up an email address. You can send us in an email. So we're getting birthday requests. We're getting requests I've been requested to go on dates. I've been, all having the crack. Aoife, I want you to say this happy birthday to such a fella. He wants you to. And obviously being the only girl as well, I don't want to say I get away with things, because people are going to say, oh, she gets away with murder. But yeah, you get away with a little bit more than maybe you should. So yeah, certainly with this studio, as I said, it's given everyone a little bit of I'm there 13 years this week, and not saying that broadcasting gets boring, but I think when people see you as well, I think it adds a little bit, they nearly get to know you. And like I find now, if I go somewhere and I'm talking, people will be looking over, and then they might come over and say, do I know you? And I'd be like, I doubt it. Like, I do know you. You're one that's on the speakers, or you're the one that's on the telly now. And it's nice. I'm a talker, so I love talking to people. The people that are with me somewhere are going, will she come on? But I love talking, so I'm happy enough to interact and have the crack. And as I said, it doesn't. I'm kind of I won't say I'm a pro, but I'm very easygoing now. I used to be a bit more uptight about it. So if I say something wrong, I'll highlight it myself and just say, look, that was wrong. Or last week I was tired of work and I was calling someone the wrong name. I was actually calling someone Katie Taylor, and it was Katie Walsh in the back of a horse for Galway. And I was like, well, she won't land a knockout blow here, but anyway, it's Katie Walsh, you know what I mean? Anyway, I said, I'm tired, it's been a long week at Galway, good one. So yeah, they're serious, but yeah, as you said, the fun side. And just with this new studio, it's given us all a flair. And now that people can see you, I think if you say something wrong, you're only human, and people react. I find people's reaction is better when they can see it. They know you're a bit more ordinary, or I didn't mean that. Like, it's just more so fresh, and so it's exciting times. But as you said, their Paddy Power are very renowned for their Joker material. But certainly in the studio, we're not. We're kind of coming up to their standards. We're getting away with a little bit more than probably we used to.
I think the setup of the studio dictates the environment and the atmosphere as well, doesn't it? Like if it's, a more chilled, laid back feel, then you're going to feel comfortable as well, aren't you, in that, and you'll probably be more of yourself anyway if you are in that like settled, comfortable environment.
Yeah. And as I said, I'm the only girl. So if, the lads are saying, oh yeah, sure, typical Aoife, she'll get away with, she gets away with murder and all this. So I just play up to that and say, yeah, that's what you get when you're the only girl, and whatever. So we're just, there's an ongoing joke. Oh, sure, she's leaving early. Sure, is that because she's the only girl or whatever? So it's, you have to use it when you can, and, pretend that what are you talking about? There's no different rules for different folks here. So, yeah, it's all good fun. But the studio, as I said, is something that anyone hasn't been in Paddy Power is definitely something to check out. And yeah, it's just something different for a change.
Where do you live now, Aoife?
I live in Enniscorthy, so I have to commute to Dublin 3 days a week.
And how long does that take you?
An hour and 20 minutes.
Okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah. So it's motorway the whole way. 5 minutes out to the motorway and just straight up, and then 10 minutes when you come off the main road. So it's fine. Like, so I'm saying that now in the summer. Call me in November when the rain is baiting off the oak and you're already 20 minutes late. But yeah, it's fine. Look, it's grand. You kind of miss traffic either way, because I do 7:30 to 7:30 or 10 to 10. So you kind of miss the traffic either side of it.
So just 3 days a week is when you have to go into Dublin. What do you do the rest of your time? Just go ground racing?
The 4 hours we get to visit shops. So I just go around Wexford and meet the shop staff or meet punters. As I said, that 4 hours is never 4 hours, let me tell you, because you come across someone that's either not happy or wanting to give out to you about something, or I tell you, when you're on about saying something wrong, you will hear it for the next week. If you've said something wrong or whatever, or you were giving out about someone on air, whether it be a jockey, a trainer, or whatever. So yeah, those 4 hours are always longer than 4 hours because you're having the crack, as I said, either getting abused or something's happening anyway. But yeah, it's always good to go out to the shops and as I said, meet the customers and the staff. And it's nice because they see you now. For years they didn't see us, so we were nearly faceless. So it's actually really nice now when you go out and people come up to you and say, "Oh my God, it's lovely to meet you," and even calling you. And then when I go back in maybe the next day, if I met someone that I found particularly interesting or something, I might say, "Oh, I was talking to Joe yesterday in Wexford. How are you, Joe? Hope you're So it's more personal to them as well. They love when they get their name called out. So it's yeah, it's just something nice. It's kind of like giving back for all the world, and it certainly doesn't feel like a job. Let me tell you.
No, it doesn't. I know exactly how you feel. It definitely doesn't feel like a job, especially when you can talk about everything that you love. And talking about things that you love, what is the best event for you in the calendar?
It's probably the Derby, as silly and probably as obvious as.
English Barbie, good answer. Good answer.
No, I don't know. And the Irish Derby, I think, unfortunately. Yeah, look, it's a great night overall. Plenty of booze, meeting up with people that you probably only see once a year. I think the Derby, to be honest with you, I actually have a Derby dog that qualified in Shelburne for the Derby, Kiri Pimple here. So he won the trial stake 2 weeks ago. So I have my own Derby representative this year. So makes it that little bit more exciting. And yeah, I just think the build up and the nervous excitement and everything that comes with it as well. Look, he's no chance. I'm not saying he has, but if you're not in, you can't win, as they say. So his name is in the hat anyway. And we'll see what maybe a kind draw for a night or two. And we'll live the Derby dream, as they say.
Round 1, Bocco's Diamond.
Well, I'm in 6. So he may go across the 5 because I'm in 6.
Can you lead him?
Well, do you know what? We came out the other night like a skull. I won't say that we'll lead him now, but look, I'm happy with my dog. They're happy with their representative, and it's every man for himself, as they say, or every dog for. My dog won't always run against Bocco's Diamond. So every man will have his day. Isn't that what they say?
Who trains him, Aoife?
Myself and Aidan. So Aidan's my partner. So he has the Kiri prefix. You would have known Kiri King.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's his prefix. So it's Kiri Pimple we have at the minute. He's named after our local vegetable man, a very good friend of ours. So that's who he's named after. So we like to name him after someone we know. Or so yeah, and his mother is actually going down to be mated this week as well. So Belle, his mother's in season. So she's going to be hopefully mated this week as well. So exciting few weeks ahead, hopefully.
Who should be mated to?
Coulavani Hoffa.
Ooh,
Yeah.
very nice.
You're right, Pimple, Danny. Is out of one of your favourites, Roadstram Bonner.
Yes.
I love the Bonos. They're so
Yes.
strong in a finish. That's what
Yes.
I would think. Well, I've got his name written down anyway, because I always make notes when I'm in a podcast. So I've got his name written down. And if he's, 150 to 1, I'll have a cheeky couple of quid, because that's my usual thing.
But no, you want to get a nice first round heat, get an easy heat, 4 or 5 to 1, get on.
Yeah.
First night. Now an easy heat, no Bocco's Diamond, no cheap sandwiches, Bocco's Diamond, Bombay Pat. We want our own type of dog in the race with us. 4 or 5 to 1, hopefully the first night, pops the lids and makes all. Here's hoping. Know what they say?
Yes. As you say, you've got him, obviously, in the kennels where you are. What's your kind of training setup like then?
It's just very small, just a couple of dogs. We used to have more dogs, and just with work, our kind of Aidan's a Tyler and I obviously am a broadcaster. So we used to have more, and to be honest with you, we kind of said less is more, if that makes sense, as in try to perfect or niche what we have rather than having 8. I don't want to disrespect that. Worse dogs or graded dogs, we'd rather have less and kind of perfected, that sort of way. Because obviously when I'm gone for work, I'm gone the whole day. So it just works the way we have it now. We only have 3 dogs here, and Belle is inside. She's obviously, well, she's going to Dumfries tomorrow, but she's retired as well. So 3 in the kennels. We have room for 1 or 2 more, and Belle is inside. So yeah, it's just 3 or 4, make a handy, because obviously this morning I had to walk 2 lots of dogs and things. So on your day off, it's not really a day off either. So yeah, it's just less is more as such. So yeah, we've Pimple, Lucy and Ivy here, and Belle inside.
So who's been the most successful for you in years gone by?
Well, we had I suppose Kiri King was obviously an incredible greyhound. Obviously had to be withdrawn from the final of the Irish Derby a few years ago. Unfortunately, Fred died 2 years ago, but I suppose he's very successful. Then we had Kiri Dodger. I brought him to England to the English Derby. Got knocked out the first night, but look, it was great fun on the transporter and heading across to the UK. And I suppose like we'd always have goodish dogs. I suppose Derby dogs are hard to come by. So I suppose we've had a mixture of pretty decent dogs. But any dog that you can run in a Derby, I suppose, is a little bit better than most.
And when it comes to kind of sourcing dogs, I know you're putting Bell to Coulivanny, Hoffer, but would you breed them all yourself that you kind of keep, or would you source them from other places?
No, I would always breed our own. We kind of breed our own. That's the kind of thing. Not saying I'm against getting a dog for someone, but to me, like, I have pictures of Pimple from the first day he was born, and I know that sounds, I'm nearly getting upset talking about it, but I know that sounds cringy, but I'd rather you get to know their personalities, you get to know, like, you know, the dogs themselves. So I would never say I would never buy a dog or a pup, but certainly I prefer from the day she goes down to Coulivanny Hoffa tomorrow, to counting down the days when she has the puppies, to the day they come out, and everything in between. So yeah, I like the whole thing about pups now, when they're under your feet at 4 weeks old and you're trying to get out of a dog pen and they're trying to run out and you're kicking them back and all. You know, it's like anything. I'll be cursing and giving out them days, but overall as a whole, and obviously even then bringing them to the track, schooling them, and, you know, seeing their personalities flourish. It's, you know, they're nearly like little people, I suppose. You get to know them so well.
It sounds like a madhouse, especially when you have the puppies around. But it just, you know, like you say, once greyhounds are in your blood, they can't get out. And are you going to keep all the litter, or would you sell a couple of the litter? What goes on with your litters when you have them? Because obviously you said you've only got space for about 8 or so racing greyhounds, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, look, I don't ever tempt fate. You know the way some people say, "Oh, I'll sell you one of those." You can't sell what you don't have. At the minute, I have 0 to sell. As in, she doesn't have pups. She hasn't even been made yet. So, you know, there's a process of all that as well. So, look, I never worry about that. There's Ken Bustede, a good friend of mine. He's bought a couple off Bell in the past, and there's always a couple of people interested. If no one buys them, not in loss, not in gain, I don't advertise them to sell. I'd be a hoarder. I'd keep them all. I appreciate I have to sell some, unfortunately, but there's a couple of people that have bought off me year on year, and they're good people of mine. And I sell a couple to the UK. Nigel Tanner there in Erica Samuels, he's bought a couple in the past off me as well. So there's just a couple of people that I kind of deal with all the time, and thankfully I've been very lucky that they've bought off me in the past. So I won't change what's broken as of yet. And as I said, I won't be putting the mockers on having too many pups. So the gift, hopefully she'll have enough and everyone will be okay, and I'll worry about the selling and dealing after.
Love it. I just think, you know, I'd love to do something like that. I don't have the setup or any kind of things to have dogs full time as kind of a trainer or anything like that. But I went to Rose Draper's a couple of weeks ago, and just seeing and being with dogs all day is it's just a pleasure. You know, they're so easy as well. I know you said you've got retired ones at home, and they're just such an easy pet to have.
Yeah, well, obviously I'm in the town of Enniscorthy, and albeit the dog track is there's so many people that have never seen greyhounds being walked, or, you know, in amongst the town. And it's funny how now it's like a norm. Like, you know, people, when I started walking my dogs here years ago, they were all like, "Oh God, you know, will they attack my little fluffy pooch?" And it's just funny because they get so domesticated and used to being in around little dogs. And then when they go to the track, it's like no joke, Pimple would be licking a little dog, and he goes to the track, he will run over you and anyone else that's on his way to the hare escape. It's like, you know, but I mean, you bring him here and he'd be licking a dog they'd meet on the road. It's like completely different personalities, you know. But yeah, it's like anything. They're great pets, and as I said, I take them over most dogs. People are assuming you have to be walking 30, 40 minutes with these dogs. 20 minutes of a stroll, I think it's fair to say, and they're happy enough for the rest of the day.
They certainly are. Yeah, they're brilliant. They're brilliant animals. They really are. And good luck in the derby with Karai Pimple as well. So from us all here at Gone to Dogs, we'll be keeping a close eye on Karai Pimple. Just looked at his form, and a very good run over the 550 yards last time out.
Yeah, ping the lids there. Yeah, he was behind Lemon Joey the previous week. who obviously ran in the Dundalk International. So, that line of form was pretty solid. And the fact is, the Derby Trial Stake is run over A1. So we actually went back to A1 grade. And I was, once the traps opened, I was pretty, not to be cocky now, but, when he went 5 clear at the opening bend, I was thinking, now, barring a disaster, here I'm the winner. So, got myself a little Boyle Sports jacket. I was not too happy about that, but anyway, I'll take it, as they say. You
painted it green.
No, that's why I said to the man presenting it to me, I said, this could go afire in our hands. And he was like, sorry? And I said, I work for Paddy Power. So anyway, we were having a laugh about it. And look, I'll take any Boyle Sports jackets. And if it's the one on September 27th, when I win, I won't worry about who's presenting it to me then either, or what company they work for, let me tell you.
No, you'd be whirling it around your head, absolutely no problem. Wearing it in the bar.
I'll be wearing it around my neck. That's a fact.
Talking of Paddy Power, Aoife, how popular is greyhound racing still with Paddy Power? Is it still one of your most bound sports?
Well, actually, we're in a meeting the other week, and it's actually progressing again. As I said, there's a good few broadcasters that are very much into greyhound racing. So when we're on, which invariably is one of us or if not two of us every day, so I don't know whether it's that or we're kind of during the show we're focusing on it. We're even simple as mentioning Naps Next Best, giving a little preview, so actually greyhound races is one of the better things making money at the minute, according to the head lads a few weeks ago in a meeting. So as I said, there probably is so much sport now for people to get involved with. It's probably hard to say, like they say horse racing is down, but there's so much of it, like from 7, 8 o'clock in the morning till 10. Like I was working last night, 9:45, whatever, not Turfontaine, some country out foreign, so there's probably so much horse racing that it's probably flooded the market a little bit. So Paddy Power, the greyhound racing is doing well, but as I said, even when you're in there some days, you're like, if you were sitting there for half an hour, you'd be boggy-eyed with so much going on now, and everyone's betting on their phones, so it probably is hard to get a good gauge on what is doing well or what's not doing well, as such. But the last meeting anyway in Paddy Power greyhound racing was doing very, very well.
Well, what you do though in shop, you show both media services that a lot don't. So you show every ARC track and SIS track.
Yeah.
A lot don't. So they've got more to look at, haven't they? More to bet on.
Yeah, well, it's 11:01 Monmore, 11:03 Romford, 11:07, and then we've I'd say the Irish greyhound racing, albeit I'm not a fan of bags meetings, and maybe that's a bad thing to say here, but I'm not a fan of Irish bags meetings, to be honest with you. Not that I'm not a fan of, that's probably the wrong thing I say. I don't know what I want to say, but I think
you've gone all big time, haven't you? You've got your Derby dog. She's gone all big time now.
No. Hold on, you're getting me wrong. No. I just think it muddies the waters or something. I think it ruins, like, for me, if you ask me to start, what is greyhound racing? I would say heading to Enniscorthy as a child of memory at night time, and that sort of thing. I hate this 11 o'clock Waterford or 11 o'clock Kilkenny. I think it watering down our product nearly for all the world, and I think greyhound racing is for nighttime, as funny as that sounds. I just have the memory of heading in the winter time. It's a nighttime kind of sport, and I think that the other tracks that run at nighttime, we'll say like Enniscorthy on a Monday or Thursday night, if you go Thursday racing in Waterford and you have a runner, you're not going to go to Enniscorthy that night because you're not getting home till 3 or 4 o'clock. So I think it's ruining a little bit of the nighttime action, if you get me, because there's meetings during the day and no one's going to get home at 4 o'clock from Waterford or Kilkenny to turn around and head to Enniscorthy. Do you know what I mean? I think it's like diluting the product for the nighttime or people going in the evening time, that sort of way. That's what I don't like about it.
I agree. Personally, because I cover all of them as well with William Hill. So I've seen that side of things, and you've got 3 dog races, 4 dog races, 5. There's so few 6 dog races these days that something has to change. I mean, it's not going to be us that change it, but somebody at some point is going to have to sit down and be like, this is just unsustainable. Because that was my next question. Where do you kind of see greyhound racing over in Ireland, over here, in the next kind of 5 to 10 years?
In big trouble, and that's being completely honest, because I know for a fact, as being a breeder or an advocate of greyhound racing, that there's no one in Ireland breeding bitches. Like, we'll say there was a period certainly of 6 to 8 months that no one was breeding. People that maybe bred like myself a litter or 2 a year, they just weren't breeding. Now there is, in the last maybe 2 months, people are breeding again, but those are they're dogs for 2 years time or a year and a half's time. Dogs that should have been bred a year and a half ago weren't bred, or bitches that, so there's going to be a lull, in my opinion. And speaking to a control steward, PJ Roberts, who actually marked up Ivy last week, he had 4 dogs to mark up in Enniscorthy dog track. Now I can tell you, there was times you would have been there could have been 20 dogs. I can just see it. And I'm not saying I'm young, but I'm the younger brigade. There's a lot of people old dying out of sport, unfortunately. Them people that had 8 dogs have 2 dogs because they're older, they can only manage 2. And I find there's no one to give these people a hand. As I said, I go up to dog track and, I'll give, because I can see that if they have 2 dogs, they probably can't even manage the 2 dogs they have, because there's no one to give them a hand. Like, they've no one to walk out the dog, is something simple as that, So I think it's kind of like a dying sport. I think the breeding is way down. That's a fact. The breeding is way down here in Ireland. And as we know and yous know, if it's down in Ireland, it's very little. Yous get lots of exports from Ireland. So if it's down here, yous are in big trouble as well over there, because there's no one with anything here to send to yous in the UK. So for me, in the next year, dog race is going to be in big, big trouble. And you're on about 3 and 4 dog races. We're going to be looking at plenty more of them, I feel. And we don't want to even get into the rehoming, because that is just a complete joke altogether.
Well, that was going to be my next question, because obviously we have the issue over here and we don't have the spotlight necessarily with regards to what I know anyway from the Irish side. But are you seeing that that's an issue over there as well?
Well, there's nearly no rehoming here in Ireland. Like, as in, I know people with dogs for 6 and 8 months. Thankfully, as I said, I keep most of my dogs until they're, if I don't have them, my dad has them. Thankfully, he's got kennels and he's his few dogs. So we're always shuffling the deck about, if I have a bitching season, dad will take it. We're shuffling the deck amongst ourselves on what kennels we have. And, he'll take a retired dog for me, or like, it's not a system I agree with necessarily. I don't know why there isn't some sort of thing. And I've said this in the past, that if I have a dog that's to be retired, why can't that dog, if I have the room and the facilities, why can't they pay me to keep the dog? Why is it going to these centres, that are costing an arm and a leg? Like, I'd be happy enough to keep my dog. If you were to give me €20 a week so I could buy the dog a bag of nuts, my dog would be happier. I'd be happier knowing where it is, not thinking that it's going to a centre with a muzzle on its face and in and out to go toilet. I don't want to say too much because I'd be getting upset over it, but I think they need to go back to the people that have the dogs, and maybe there's a thing there that, it might encourage people to see a family set up. Like, if someone has a dog, or I don't know. I think we need to get out to the public as well and let them know. As I said, I live in Enniscorthy now, and it's only in the last few years, obviously, I moved here. But when I first started walking greyhounds on the street, people were, oh my God, like, there's a blonde girl with 3 greyhounds. Like, it was a shock. But now they've gone to really love the dogs. People are, oh, how's your dogs? And they know by their names. And so I think we have to change the attitude of the people on this not big, scary greyhound that's going to take your head off. It's probably the little fluffy one that'll take your head off, the greyhound. So I think we need to be getting out in the community as well, and maybe telling people that greyhounds are, I know we say it, greyhounds are great pets, but they genuinely are great pets. They really are great pets, and they're so clean. They have a bit of a routine, as we said as well, which can be a little bit of a pain, but they'll still, they'll work around you too. They're not, so I think, I don't know. It's just a slippery slope, and I can't see the rehoming getting any better anytime soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs when we can't see the way through, especially when you work in it. You are physically working in training, racing greyhounds. Myself and Joe, Joe's got a kennel hand license, but he'd admit himself he goes down to the kennels, but you wouldn't be hands-on these days necessarily. But it's quite distressing to hear, I think, that there is such an issue with the rehoming, that there is or has been a slowdown of the breeding side of things as well.
But you see, sorry not to cut across you, but if someone has 8 kennels or 6 kennels, whatever kennels, and you happen to have a bad run of luck, or your dogs, their ages have gone against them, or whatever the case may be, and you now have, out of your 6 kennels, 4 retired dogs and you have 2 race dogs. Well, you can't, just say one of your bitches come and see, you're not going to breed because you have 6 kennels, but they're all full because 4 of them are for rehome dogs. And like, people don't want to, like, people are good with their dogs. You're not going to throw your bitch out because you want to bring in, breed another bitch. You have to live within your means as well. And it costs so much to breed and have it to do it right, it costs so much. But like people can only work with what they have. And like if your half your kennel is filled up with retired dogs and you're having them for 6 or 8 months, that's taking you out of the game for 6 or 8 months invariably, because you cannot bring anything new in. You know, you can't have it buy a 12-month-old dog to start because you've nowhere to put them. And then if you start doubling up dogs and you don't want to. It's like what I said, why we only have small. When you get into a numbers game, it's very tricky and it's a slippery slope. And then you have dogs unhappy, and then you have dogs maybe fighting because they're not getting the fullness of their life, or so and then you're unhappy. You're trying to take one out to feed it, keep the other one in. Like I've been there, done that, and it causes you so much stress, and probably you're causing the dogs a little bit of stress unknowns to yourself. So there's so many people that would love to get a new dog or a different dog, but if their kennels are full of retired dogs they're going to be looking at for 6 or 8 months, they can't get rid of them, and they can't get a new one to start the process again.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's a tricky state of affairs. If you've got a load of dogs and a load of kennels, you can see that it's a lot easier. But when you've got a small setup, and there's quite a lot of people obviously with a small setup these days, you can see how hard it's going to be to keep it sustainable, especially with prize money and all that kind of thing. And yeah, it's not. See, I was feeling all positive, Aoife, to be quite frank, in the last few months about generally greyhound racing as a whole. I think that the marketing side of things, obviously myself and Joe working for Greyhound Racing UK, we've really kicked it up a gear generally this year. And I think there's a bit more positivity over here. Has there been I know that we had Sarah Kinsler for a while promoting the sport over in Ireland, but there doesn't seem to be a massive drive to promote the sport. Certainly from our side of the water, we don't see it. Is there a big one? Is there actually a presence from everybody kind of over there or not?
There isn't. To be honest with you, I think you're promoting to the people that know about greyhound racing. Like, there's no point telling me, I know Shelbourne Park is on Friday and Saturday. Like, you need to be getting it out to the wider public, and that's what I find. We're too busy, we all know within the sport. But any of the adverts and all that things that's coming on your algorithm because you're already into dogs. You need to get it out to the wider community. As I said, where it's only, I just find, and I'll go back to walking the dogs in Enniscorthy, even though there's a dog track in Enniscorthy, there's so many people I've met that have never even stepped foot in the dog track, ever. In a small town, so there's no point telling me about dog racing or you about dog racing. We know about dog racing. It's about telling Mary down the road or Anne in the next town. Like, they're great at promoting it to people within the sport, but we all know it's about getting it out to the wider public, and like I obviously have been in Shelbourne a couple of nights and different things, but I can just see it fading a little bit. Shelbourne obviously has great facilities now, but I think there's no point telling me and you about it. I think they just, whether it's through adverts or free entry, or I know Enniscorthy last year done a women's go free. Invariably they'd bring a fella with them, so I think there has to be initiatives. Like, they're all saying, oh, that costs money. Well, lads, if there's no one in, you're not making money either. So I mean, try something, like try to think outside the box. Like, whether it's, as I said, a women's night, go down to the hairdressers, give them a few free passes, go down to the beauticians, like, it's about getting people in. And as I said, when people actually see you, they seem to be a young girl, but like, it's like, oh, you change people's mindsets as well. And I just think there's no point in telling me and you need to tell everyone else about it.
Agree more. Yeah, I think it does need to get out to the wider public. And I would say, that I don't know about you, but anybody I've taken to racing, be it male, female, kids, whatever, they've never said, oh God, that was awful, I'm never going again.
Yeah, well, look, even my dad's 70, a few years ago, we went to the dogs, and as I said, my family have no interest. Like, my dad obviously has, and my mum would have, because she'd have to let out dogs or something in her time when they've been on around. So she's an advocate for greyhound racing, unknowns to herself. But yeah, like, even my sibling, and it's one of those things, they say, oh, we should do this again, but then it's another 5 years before it's done again. Or the same with my own close friends. We went a few years ago to Shelbourne. This is a great night. Now it's another few years since we've done it again. So I think, as you said, everyone enjoys their night at the dogs, but it's just not frequent enough to keep the whole thing going, unfortunately.
It's a sad state of affairs, but we're hoping, obviously, on Gone to the Dogs, that we're trying to push the message out there. Obviously, with Paddy Power and your jobs, the broadcasting side over there, you're pushing the sport because that's your passion. And I see that with different people when they're broadcasting at William Hill. You'll have the rugby guy that will push what's going on in the rugby, football. And then there's me, who's pretty much the only person that actually really, really actively enjoys greyhound racing. So, yeah, it's interesting to see that you've got quite a few, though, at Paddy Power. I'm glad to hear it. And, we're all doing our little bit to kind of promote the sport, and hopefully it does have longevity. That's all we can hope for, especially with Curate Pimple and it was the Ivy and Lucy, I want to say, was the other one.
Yes, Ivy and Lucy.
So wish you the best of luck, of course, with them and with the big boy who's going for the Derby. So I'm going to see what his price is actually shortly and see if anybody's priced him up yet.
200s, I think.
That'll do. Cheeky.
No. First night, I'm telling you, first night, easy draw. Bocco's Diamond of 5, we're in 6. Will be a big price again. Living the dream.
Chicken sandwiches in 4, Delaney Dar in 1.
It'd be like a Derby final. Bring it on, as they say. Bring it on.
And pleasure to have you on, Aoife, because obviously we don't hear that much about what goes. Obviously, I keep my eyes on what goes on over in the Irish side, but you don't get to know the nitty gritty and kind of the feeling of greyhound racing over in Ireland too much. Because when you do see things on social media, it's usually Ian Fortune fronting them, or Barry Call that we've had on the show before, and they're all very positive about what's happening on the show that night or what's going on the competitions wise. So it is. I wouldn't say it's nice to hear, but it's interesting to hear, what it's like on the ground when it comes to racing in Ireland. So thank you for the insight. And obviously I do wish you the best of luck with Curate Pimple, because hopefully gets through that first round.
Yeah, and hopefully on the 27th I'll be swinging a Boyle Sports jacket around my neck. Let's hope.
Thanks so much, Aoife.